Mr. Knowles, welcome to the swamp. I will say I'm very confused being in a room with you and there are no cigars and no scotch. I cannot recall the last time that transpired. I appreciate the testimony of everyone here. The topic we're considering is, I think, of exceptional importance. There is an epidemic of politically motivated violence. And the politically motivated violence in this country is overwhelmingly emanating from the left. We saw that during the Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots across the country as cities across America burned. We saw that during the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses, as Jewish students in particular were threatened and feared for their lives. We saw that with the pro-open border riots in Los Angeles and other cities. And we saw that tragically with the murder of Charlie Kirk, someone who was a good friend to many of us and an extraordinary leader. Mr. Knowles, you too were targeted on a college campus. What does it say about the state of our universities that holding a debate on a public campus now requires police barricades, bomb squads, and body armor?
My question is, what are the universities for? Aren't the universities for educating students? Aren't the universities for pursuing truth? If the universities are not advancing those goals, as manifestly they are not, then I think we need to strongly consider defunding those universities. I think we need to strongly consider not sending our children to those universities because they have been perverted against their very purpose. And this is so apparent in much of the left-wing discourse. To me, it seems, hearing even mainstream Democrats on this, that for them, their violence is speech and our speech is violence. There was no more gracious or generous or charitable debater on college campuses than Charlie Kirk. He always endeavored to hear out the other side, to steelman their arguments, to give them the benefit of the doubt, and he was killed for it. He was killed for ideological reasons, and that has to be an inflection point. And as far as I'm concerned, if the universities and the political order cannot shore up a healthy marketplace for debate, they're useless.
Look, I think you are absolutely right. I think our universities are failing profoundly in that regard. At Columbia University during the anti-Semitic protests, the Orthodox rabbi on campus sent an email to the Jewish students on campus and said, "Do not come to campus because the university cannot and will not protect you." That is a fundamental abdication of their most essential responsibility, which is to protect their students. And Columbia refused to protect them because ideologically they sided with the violent protesters. And let me ask, the attack on your event, was that a spontaneous protest or was it organized, planned, and well-funded?
It was the latter, Senator, and we can point to the specific networks, we can point to the anarchist bookshops, we can point to the email addresses for the tax-free, nonprofit organizations that were funneling the donations to these people. This is organized left-wing crime.
I'm not the only person who noticed in the anti-Semitic protests that the tents all matched. There is real money. There is real money, and it is many of the same networks, unfortunately, whether they are open border radicals, whether they are anti-capitalist communists, whether they are jihadists. The funding is steady and significant. Mr. Wolf, in 2020, under your leadership, DHS officers stood on the front lines in Portland, facing more than 100 consecutive nights of siege against the Marco Hatfield Federal Courthouse. Officers were assaulted with commercial-grade fireworks, lasers, and Molotov cocktails. Were those random outbursts, or were they coordinated, resourced operations with strategy, logistics, and financing behind them?
Oh, without a doubt, Senator, they were coordinated. I had the chance to visit Portland during the middle of that 100-day period. And from the Hatfield Courthouse, where I was, you could see into the park below tents, a lot of tents. And I asked my federal officers at the time, what's in the tents? They said, well, we don't know. We can't go over there. The Portland police won't help us understand what's going on over there. We eventually sent an undercover agent there. And his response was, it's weapons, it's munitions, it's a variety of different things that get resupplied almost on a daily basis.
Wow.
So yes, organized.
These same checkbooks are funding the chaos in Minneapolis, in Portland, in Los Angeles. It's why I've introduced the Stop Funders Act. The Stop Funders Act adds rioting as a predicate offense to RICO to enable the Department of Justice to use the full tools that have been directed at the mafia to go after the corrupt enterprise. Because at the end of the day, the thug who is engaged in violence is committing criminal acts, but the billionaire who is trying to tear down this country by writing checks to fund it bears, in many ways, far greater responsibility. Mr. Wolf, in your judgment, would passing the Stop Funders Act, adding rioting as a predicate act to RICO, assist DOJ in going after and stopping these coordinated, politically motivated acts of violence?
Yeah, absolutely it would. And happy to say that America First Policy Institute has endorsed that piece of legislation as well, because you have to understand where they're getting their finance, where they're getting their backing. And if you can't use the resources that the Department of Justice should be using, it's going to make it very difficult. In 2020, we simply ran out of time before we left office in 21. It's my understanding the Department of Justice and FBI are looking into this financing. So giving them additional quivers in their bag, I think would be very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. So I want to thank all the witnesses for being here today and for your testimony. Written questions for them may be submitted for the record until Tuesday, November 4th at 5 p.m. And with that, this